Good morning, students. Today we are going to explain the next part of the lesson, lesson 2, a gift of chapels. Last day we have completed up to this part. The last line, as you can see, and if I may just remind you, they worshipped cats in ancient Egypt. Rabi kept explaining about that new pet, the kitten which they have found outside the gate, uh, about its ancient value, and then let's move to the next part of this lesson. How he loved the sound of his own voice. Mina and Ridu exchanged looks while Rabi was explaining with excitement about the cat. Mina and Mridu, they just looked at each other. What does that have to do with anything? Mridu demanded. Mridu wanted to know, why are you telling all those things to us? What will make it difference? Ah, I'm telling you, this cat is descended from the Egyptian cat god. No, goddesses. Bastet. Yeah, that's it. In the reply of Mridu's question, Ravi informed that he was actually explaining all those things just to justify, just to make it clear to them that this cat which they have found is the descendant of that Egyptian cat goddesses whose name is Bastet. So, well, one of the descendants of that cat goddesses was a stowaway in one of the Pallava ships, and his descendant was the Mahabalipuram Rishi cat, whose descendant is Ravi, flourished his twig at Mahendran, MP Punai here. Oof. Eh. Then Ravi also said that the Egyptian cat goddess's descendant has once stowed, means being carried by the ships to the Pallava dynasty. and this and that cat was the actual descendant of Mahabalipuram Rishi cat. And this cat which they have found is also the descendant from that Maharaja Mahabalipuram's Rishi cat, whose name which Ravi had given, MP Punai. He shrieked, very pleased with himself. Ravi, while explaining, was feeling very proud. Mahendran looked up, alarmed. He had just been sharpening his claws on the edges of the coconut shell. Suddenly, Mahendran looked up to them, and Mahendran, means that little cat or kitten, had been sharpening his claws on the edge of the coconut shell. But worse than Rabi's awful whoop was a screech from the window. As Rabi was excited and explaining all those things, suddenly someone opened the window from the backyard side of the house. What a weird sound! If Mridu was startled, MP Punai was frightened out of his wits. Here, standing on end, he bounced up and scurried towards a bamboo tray of red chilies that had been set out to dry, trying to hide beneath it. He tripped a few chilies over himself. No, he howled miserably. Screeching sound means when the door or the window is open basically, and if somehow it is a bit jam, then it creates a very shrill sound, sharp shrill sound. That kind of sound suddenly came from inside the house, and the cat, after listening that weird sound, got frightened, and directly he jumped from there and fell on a bamboo tray. Perhaps on that tray, grandma or Ravi's mom has kept the red chilies to dry. And as Punai jumped over it, the tray overturned, and most of the chilies or few chilies were scattered here and there. The screeching went on and on. What's the noise? Said Mridu. And that sound, which actually frightened that little cat, that sound kept on and on. And Mridu asked, what is that strange sound? That's Lali learning to play the violin, granted Ravi. Ravi, with an angry voice, informed them that this is the sound of the violin which Lali is trying to play or trying to learn to play it. She will never learn a thing. The music master must goes on playing like a train whizzing on and on, while Lali all the time derailing, going completely off track. Lali, the youngest sibling of that family, the the youngest sister of Ravi, and the music teacher used to come at Ravi's house to teach Lali how to play that violin. And still Lali is too young to learn, and Lali couldn't properly follow her music teacher's track. While her music teacher used to play it so nicely, Lali always uh, unable to follow that track. That is why Ravi said going completely off track. Mridu kept on to the window, crept up to the window. Lali was sitting a little distance away, awkward, holding her violin and uh, bowstring, her elbows jutting out and her eyes glazed with concentration. When Mridu crept near to the window and opened it and trying to see inside, she found Lali was sitting in a little distance away from her master and holding her violin in a very strange way, stretching her elbow in a in outer part out in outer side, and was trying to concentrate to play it. In front of her, with most of the back to the window, was the bony figure of the music master. And by having the back towards the window, the music teacher was sitting just in front of Lali, and Lali's music teacher is very thin and feeble. Bony figure means very weak and feeble body. He had a mostly bald head with of oiled black hair falling around his ears and an old fashioned tuft. In this part, it is explained how Lali's music teacher actually looks. he had a bald head, means head almost having no hair, with a fringe of oiled black hair, and the much hair which he had, he also used oil in it, and he also had a old fashioned tuft which we call ponytail or something. Basically the Brahmin or Gurujis used to keep it choti. A gold chain gleamed around his neck, leathery neck, and a diamond ring glittered on his hand as it glided up and down the stem of the violin. Here, leathery neck represents or says that having a very feeble and weak person, the basically the skin wrinkles, and wrinkly skin covered his neck. That's why they explained it as a leathery neck. And he was wearing a diamond ring which was glittering on his hand as he was playing the violin stem. A large foot stuck out from beneath his gold bordered vesti is, and was beating beating time on the floor with the scrawny big toe. And from his here vesti is a kind of lower part of the South Indian dresses. So gold bordered vesti the teacher was wearing, and one of his one of his feet was out from that vesti and was counting time or beating time while playing the music with his big toe. He played a few notes. Lali stumbled behind him on her violin, which looked quite helpless. He played a few notes. First, Lali's teacher was playing some notes, and then Lali had to do that. But Lali every time was not quite able to do the same way as her teacher was doing. As you can see the picture, the whole situation was quite perfectly explained and was clear with this image or picture also. And unhappy in her hands means she was not, the music was not feeling good while not sounding good while Lali was playing it. What a difference! The music master's notes seemed to float up and settle perfectly into the invisible tracks of the melody. Means the music teacher was doing it so very well. It was like the wheels of a train fitting smoothly into the rails and whizzing along, as Ravi said. Ravi explained that music teachers' notes or sound seemed to be very perfect. Mridu stared at that huge bronzed hand moving effortlessly up the violin stem, making lovely music. And Ridu was staring. Staring means looking very intensely to that music teacher. How how effortlessly he was producing that sound or music so lovely. Squeak! There was Lali derailing again, and once again Lali couldn't follow that track and sound differently. Amma came Amma came a well from the gate. Amma, oh! As the three kids looking from that window, suddenly they heard a sound coming from the gate outside, the road gate, the boundary gate. Amma, Rabi, sent that beggar away, cried his mother from the back veranda where she was chattering. Rabi, sent that beggar away, cried his mother. Rabi's mother said to Rabi, Rabi, send that beggar away. Whose sound was it? Amma, a beggar who used to come to their house very often. And when again today Ravi's mom has heard that sound, without watching or seeing him, she recognized and told Ravi that send that beggar away. He has been coming here every day for the past week, and it's time he found another house to beg from. Pati explained to Tapi. Here, Pati grandma, Tapi maternal grandma, hopefully. So, both of those grandmas were talking, and even Ravi's mom was also chatting to each other. And Pati explained that this beggar is coming for past week continuously, and now it's enough. He must find some other house to beg. Pati explained to Tapi. Mridu and Meena followed Ravi out. The beggar was already in the garden, making himself quite at home. He he had spread his and was leaning against its trunk, apparently prepared to take a little snooze while he waited for the arms to appear. When they reached to that place, they found the beggar already came inside the house. Like means he made this house like his own home. He felt like home, and he, without any hesitation, came inside the house and spreaded his cloth under a neem tree and was trying to have a nap over there. And he leant against that neem tree and sat down. Go away, said Ravi sternly. With a very harsh voice, Ravi said, Go away. My Pati says it's time you found another house to beg from. Ravi also explained that Pati want you to go away from here and to find some other house to beg. The beggar opened his eyes very wide and gazed at each of the children one by one. The ladies of the house, as he said at last in a voice choked with feeling, are very kind souls. Then, with Ravi's sudden voice, that beggar opened his eyes and looked at them one by one, and then explained that the ladies of this house had been very kind till now. They are having very good or kind soul. I have kept my body and soul together on their generosity for a whole week. And he also said, I have been praying for this whole family, basically the woman who used to help me till for the last whole week. Means I have been praying to God for their well-being. I cannot believe that they would turn me away. That beggar also said he cannot believe that they have told me to go away from here. He raised his voice, Amma, Amma, said his well might be, but it certainly wasn't feeble. Though his voice seemed very sad, but it was not feeble, means the sound was quite audible from even far away. It began in a deep, strong rumble somewhere in his withered belly and came blooming out of his mouth with its few remaining teeth strained broad with a brittle chewing. The sound, Ravi explained, that sound somehow from his empty stomach, it is coming and producing huge one, means a shrill one, and it's almost echoing and going too far. And he has few remaining teeth, and which was stained, which was colored brown for betel chewing, for chewing, means for basically chewing pan or betel nuts. Rabi, tell him there is nothing left in the kitchen, called Rukumani. Rukumani, Mridu's aunt, Rabi's mom. Ravi's mom informed that beggar that there is nothing left in the kitchen, and he is not to come again. Tell him that. And Rukumani also informed and shouted and informed Ravi to convey the message that he is supposed not to come further again in this house. She sounded fed up. Means, as the way she was saying all those things, it seemed that she had been fed up with this beggar. Ravi didn't have to repeat it all to the beggar. What his mother said had been easy for them all to hear. There, under the neem tree, the beggar sat up and sighed. I'll go. He said wearily, only let me have a rest under this tree. The sun is so hot. The tar has melted on the road. My feet are already blistered. And then Ravi's mom has explained from the house, or said loudly from the house. So now the beggar turned very sad, but said that I'll go. But let me have a rest under this tree, because it is too hot outside. And the tar means the pitch, or that concrete road having pitch in upper layer, it has already melted, and his feet are already blistered. So this much uh, for today. Next day I'll explain the next part. All of you are requested to once again listen to the explanation, and then read the part which I have completed till today. Bye beta.